Hi there, my name is Aaron Short and welcome to my YouTube channel. Today I'd like to look back at 2019. I'm going to talk through my videos that I made, the reviews, the performances, and I'll discuss them briefly, tell you if I'm still using the products and how I feel about products I reviewed, and also discuss any performances or any kind of videos I uploaded, and just reflect back on 2019 before we move into 2020, which is actually today, but that's a good time to do this, I think. Look back before we move forward. So let's get straight into it because I've got quite a few videos to go through. The first video from 2019 was acoustic guitar pickups, an introduction, video number 1. So I decided that I spent so many years and so much time researching, buying and installing acoustic guitar pickups that I should start documenting it. So there's some that aren't here, but all the ones I tried this year are there. There's around 10 pickups, I believe, with examples, demos and my thoughts. So this was something that was pretty important to me, and I thought I'd share it with the acoustic guitar community. So the introduction video only got about 975 views, but it was like an introduction just to explain what I would be doing down the line. So that was the first one. The next video I shot was actually the Anthem. It was video number 2 of that series, the Anthem pickup, and that received 5,000 views, which is pretty good. That pickup is a very popular, kind of almost standard pickup for acoustic guitars, and I do really like it, but I do feel it does something to the sound of my guitar unplugged, so I haven't been using it, but I do own a guitar with it in because it is one of the best like plug and play pickups on the market in my opinion. The next video was the Fishman Matrix Infinity microphone pickup. This was released at NAMM last year, at Winter NAMM, and it kind of promised to be the same kind of thing as the Anthem, but without impacting the tone. It still added quite a lot to the guitar, and I really wanted to like it. I think the problem with that was the microphone is in the sound hole, and I would get feedback. Now, I've been told since there's ways to avoid that. You can use crossovers and EQ the microphone differently to the pickup, so there are ways to avoid that. But certainly something I'd like to revisit again in the future. And then another pickup review, Yamaha acoustic pickup. I got the Silent guitar for Christmas, so I wanted to review the pickup system in that, which is Yamaha's kind of impulse response pickup. I'm not a huge fan of that guitar right now. The pickup sounds okay. It takes a lot of EQ to make it sound decent. I do love the guitar for travel. I took it on a cruise last year. Great for traveling around. It's so small and compact. You can use headphones. It plays really nicely. It ticks all the boxes, but the sound plugged in for me isn't quite there, and I'd like to see them update the SRT technology for next year. Then I have another pickup review. I didn't realize I did so many at one time. The JME Ultratonic, a little bit like a K&K. In the first guitar I tried it in, it was really fantastic, a Dreadnought. In the OM size I tried it in next, I didn't like it as much. It's basically a K&K that feeds back less. It's worth checking out if you do play on loud stages and you like the K&K idea, but not for me at the time. There have been a few revisions since, so it'd be worth checking that out again. Next review was the UD Pedals Rep Demo. So that was a cool pedal. It allowed me to freeze and loop and rewind and fast forward YouTube videos, which is so useful because I use YouTube for everything now, for reviews, learning songs, practicing. So I absolutely love the pedal. I still have it. I still use it. A feature similar has been introduced into the Helix pedal. So if you own that pedal, you have it built in. But I still like having the Rep because I haven't got to, change away from my patch on the Helix while using the Rep. I can use them both together. But if you have a Helix, check it out to see if you like that functionality. Next up, the X5 U3 microphone wireless system. So this worked great. I reviewed it for them. It worked great. I don't have it anymore because I got the Sennheiser XSW version, so I didn't need both of them. But if you find one, then yeah, I like the X5 stuff, and that was a great concept. It works really well. So moving on, now I have a performance next. This is my song, Pieces of a Puzzle, which is available online from my album 10 Songs About Truth, Lies and Other Things. This was performed with Tommy Emmanuel. Now it wasn't from that actual time, it was actually shot a while before. But I'd taken it down and I wanted it to be on my channel, so I uploaded it again. So yeah, I'm very proud of that. My own song played with one of my favorite guitarists, Tommy Emmanuel. If you haven't seen that, then check it out. Oh, and the guitar in that video was my Rain song with the Anthem. And you get to hear Tommy's Maton, which is a great system as well. Next up, I had Anderton's Jam at the Boss Stand Winter NAMM. I'd filmed that walking around NAMM, And I just thought, I happened to see them doing it, and I just thought, oh, I'll grab a video of that and see how it does. It got 1,000 views, so the NAMM stuff isn't that popular, and yet it's one of my favorite events of the year. It's when all the cool stuff is introduced and released and announced. So I really thought more people would be searching for NAMM, but I don't get the feeling people do search for NAMM. But having said that, I will be covering it. I'm going in 2 weeks, so please subscribe to the channel and watch out for my NAMM updates. So here's one of my most popular videos next, Fender Acoustasonic unboxing. So this also was released at NAMM, and I got one from Sweetwater straight after. I was probably one of the first people to have one. And so I made an unboxing, initial impressions, and it got a lot of views. It was innovative. It was innovative. It was, still is, I got a lot of people gave them a hard time for that guitar. They were like, oh, what are Fender doing? It's expensive. It looks funny. Yeah, you know what? They're trying something new, and I think we should praise that. As much as I love my Martin behind me with the K&K, very traditional guitar and setup, the fact that Fender are trying something new is good, and I am trying new stuff as well. Despite being a purist, I also like to try new stuff. Like, I'm very interested in the Variax technology. I'm very interested in MIDI technology in guitars. It's useful as a performer and a composer. So I think Fender did a great job. It wasn't exactly the guitar for me, but I really enjoyed it. My next video was using it live, which got less views, which surprised me. I thought people would want to see it being used actually in practice. And I think it sounds great in that video. I really do. I like the guitar a lot, but I'll come on to what happened with that later on. The next video, Sennheiser. So I found this wireless system at NAMM, and I absolutely loved the idea of it, the functionality, the form factor, everything about it. It was a bit on the expensive side, but I didn't mind because it did the job that I wanted. These, we have bigger wireless systems that work fine, but it's very hard to find something like this form factor. This isn't it, but something of this form factor. It's very hard to find one that's reliable. So this promised to be it, and it was for months. And then recently, it doesn't work in this apartment anymore, but the mic version does. And it works at some venues, but not others. So I don't know. I'm pretty disappointed that something of that price is that unreliable. So I hope they update that with a new version at NAMM, the XSW system. Next up, Helix tips. I did some Helix tips because I used the Helix and gain staging. That was a very popular video. Something I'll explore more in 2020 is EQ and gain staging and mixing. I feel like there's a lot of musicians out there with really cool gear that plug it in and either like it or they don't. They don't really take the time to EQ it and try different preamps and settings and all this stuff. Set the gain, play with the gain. I think 99% of gear can sound acceptable or great or even excellent if you know how to EQ it for your guitar, for your voice, for your application. So something I'd like to explore more in the future. Next video was the MySide Trio Air. I met them at NAMM. They're really nice people. I love the pickup. It's basically an Anthem without the battery, so that's nice. But it still has that soft element under saddle, and that's the reason I'm not a fan of these pickups, the Anthem or this one. I hope that they'll introduce a version of this with a hard undersaddle, and I actually would like Bags to do that as well. We'll see what happens at NAMM. Now, one of my videos testing things out. Do undersaddle pickups affect unplugged tone? So watch it and tell me what you think. Again, I believe the braided ones, the soft ones, do. I don't want to put a spongy substance under my saddle. I want it to be a nice firm connection with the guitar. But see what you think. Next video, why I'm returning the Acoustasonic. So I did return it. I had a problem. I was getting used to it. It's weird playing such a small guitar, but I thought it was cool. I had a few issues like the fact you have to charge it so much and it's not a full-size acoustic, but these are things I could have adjusted to. My biggest concern is that the actual pickup cut out completely. It died and I had to have it repaired, and I just didn't trust it to not happen again. So I wanted to wait basically. Now it's been out for a year and I've not heard of this issue with other people. I would like to try one again, honestly. But, when you buy a piece of gear that's brand new, you need to watch out for that stuff. Like, stuff that's brand new can have teething problems. So I didn't want to go through that. Actually, it brings me on to the next video, the D28 Modern Deluxe from Martin. Love the weight, love the guitar, love the looks of that guitar. But mine, the one I got, again, one of the first ones out, had like a rattle, and I couldn't find this rattle from anywhere. It was like coming from the truss rod. I mean, this might have been an easy thing to fix, but again, I got that same thought of like, oh, it's brand new. Let me just sit on the fence. So as a gear fan, a YouTuber that's doing this channel, I do like to get stuff quickly, but always bear in mind, and I'm not saying to get stuff and return it. I don't like the idea of that. But obviously, if you spend a lot of money on something and there's an issue, then you would return it and either get another one or wait. I did try to get another one, but they didn't have one that looked as nice. That guitar looks so nice. I'm very fussy about the tops of the guitars and everything. So I really like that guitar. Again, I like to revisit it again. But just a word of warning, if you buy something that's just been released, really check it over, make sure everything's fine. Because obviously when something's brand new, it can have some teething issues. Indeed, any new piece of gear can have teething issues. Next one, I did bone versus tusk saddle. It's very hard to do these scientifically because no two saddles or installations will be exactly the same, but I just wanted to try it. I felt like the bone was a bit brighter. Some people said the bone was warmer. I don't know. I like the idea of the bone in there because it's more traditional. I understand why they use tusk because it's an artificial substance which can be more consistent. That's the word I'm looking for. Whereas bone can be inconsistent. So I've never had a problem with bone saddles being inconsistent, so I don't know about that. But yeah, I can understand why people use either. Another video to watch and tell me what you think. It's really a personal preference, a lot of this stuff. Then another EQ video for the Helix. This was for using drive. I realized the drive pedals were kind of bright, so I just used the EQ to add the bass and tone down the highs. Again, seems very obvious. This can apply to anything. So learn about EQ, learn how it works. I'll do a video series on that in the future. Okay, moving on. I had a few Martins at the time that I just happened to have at once, so I made a video comparing the body sizes between them. Next one was the Fender Acoustasonic fix. I thought just in case more people are suffering from that issue, I would make a video how to fix it because I found the cable, when we repaired it, or when I had the tech repair it, we found the cable we thought was the problem, and it seemed to be the problem, so I wanted to let people know. Now, only 1.3k views, which hopefully means people didn't really search for that, which hopefully means other people didn't really have a problem. Let's hope so. Next up, Dr. Z. So I won the Bugera, I had the Dr. Z, I thought I'd compare them. That got a lot of views, 13k. People like comparison and unboxing videos, it seems. Next up, another pickup review. This was the Shatton HFN. I heard about this on the Acoustic Guitar Forum, and I thought I'll try it because the great thing with this pickup is it's so easy to install. You literally stick it in and drill the hole out and plug a cable in and you're good to go. And the first guitar I put it in, it sounded incredible. I was like, this is the one. It's easy to install. Anyone can install it. It sounds great. It's light. There's no battery. I was really happy and I put that review up and I think they sold a lot of those pickups from that review. The next video is me pretending to use a mic, but it's actually the pickup. That's how good it sounded, just straight into the mixer. I was really happy with it. Now, having said that, again, I tried it in other guitars and didn't like it as much. Some of these pickups seem to work better in some guitars than others. The K&K seems good in any guitar. Maybe because it has so much bass that I roll off. Maybe these other ones don't have enough or something. I don't know. But certainly try the HFN, but yeah, try it first. Try it first. But it's such an easy install, you can try it, which is great. Next up, I sold the amp, so I had the pedal board and the Helix, and I thought, well, I haven't got the amp, so do I need the pedal board? So I made a comparison to see which one was better, and they were kind of different, but I ended up keeping the Helix. As much as I liked my pedal board, I did have a problem with the cables going wrong sometimes, and I just found the Helix to be a great all-in-one solution. So next up, I was sent a microphone from Amazon to review, very cheap, like $30 or something, and it worked fine here. I have to say, the venue I work at, Tommy Bahama, bought one for use there, and it worked a few times, but there was one event I performed at where the guy was standing the other end of the restaurant and all the people with cell phones were sitting in front of him and it kept cutting out. So I had to tell him to come and stand next to the receiver, next to the speaker, which seems a bit silly. I think he even made a comment about it. For professional use, do not use. This is great for karaoke, a spare mic. You can use it if you're right next to the system, but if you want something for a wedding or speeches, get something like the XSW, get a real, it's like a Shure wireless, get a real system, a professional system. At least the X5 one I showed you, but of course when you buy that, you also have to buy the mic as well. Okay, then I did Invisalign. So I didn't know this was just 9 months ago I got Invisalign. Here's an update. I'm almost done, but I might go a little bit longer just to perfect things. I wanted to know if I could sing with it in, because you're meant to wear it all day long. And I found that I could, and I have been singing with it in. And the funny thing is, when I make these videos, I take it out, like it's out right now, because I'm talking. When I'm really close to this sensitive Neumann mic, I feel like I can hear some lisping, slight lisping when I talk. Maybe it's just in my head. But when I sing, it's been absolutely no problem. So if you're a singer looking into Invisalign, yeah, go for it. Next up, Line 6 Helix Tips acoustic guitar. So I showed how I use it with acoustic. That was very popular. I want to do more on that in the future. Again, the EQ in that is so powerful. EQ, EQ, EQ. It's a great EQ pedal. Then the Morningstar. I bought this at like an artist price. I saw them at NAMM. I love the idea of using the HX Stomp with the MC6, and it does work well. The problem I have is not with the MC6, really. It's with the Stomp. It didn't have enough blocks for me. Even though I got the extra buttons from the MC6, I didn't have enough blocks to make it worthwhile. I just went back to using the Helix again. So MC6, great pedal. If that's what you need, a MIDI control pedal like that, get it. It's great, but I don't have it anymore because I just didn't need it for what I'm doing. Next up, the G7th capo. So again, I saw those guys at NAMM. They're friends of mine. I use their capos all the time. I love them, so I made a video for them. Funny intro with that one. Check that out. Next up, I had a Martin with the VT Enhance in it. I actually think that's a really good system. It wasn't perfect. The battery life is the biggest problem with that. Very short battery life for someone that gigs a lot. But a great low impact, great sounding system. And I made that review and I thought it sounded good in that review. So yeah, if you see a guitar like that, check it out. Although I do hope they update it and make a few improvements and tweaks in the future. We'll see. Next up, I was sent 2 AER amps from a friend of mine. Just to borrow, and I played them, and I think the recording at the start of that sounds really nice, so I would love to have an AER amp. I know now that the creator of AER I think recently left the company and has started a new company making new amps, so I'd love to check those out at NAMM, and I will do. Another Helix tip, pedal edit mode. Frank from Line 6 mentioned how cool it is and how underused it is, and I agreed with him, so I wanted to make an awareness video, which is why I made that. It's a great feature. Again, also for EQ, because you can actually use the foot pedal to scroll through each EQ. It's really cool. Next up, OnSong, friends of mine. I use the app for all my gigs. I love the app, so I made that video. Actually got a lot of views. It's a great app. If you need a song lyric app, and especially if you work with groups of people and want to share not just lyrics but chords too, then get it. It's great. You have to input it yourself. It's not like the Tabs app where the tabs are there. This one you enter them yourself. But I do use it. I love the app. I love how it all works. They just released a premium model, like a subscription model. You have to pay each year. You don't have to, but for the more advanced features, you do. So I'll be interested to see how that plays out. But a great app. Next up, there was all that stuff about the YouTube copyright thing. So I wanted to put my spin on it. It didn't get many views, but I just wanted to put it out there. If you write a song, you want to be paid for it, right? I actually just put one of my songs in one of my videos and it said it had been claimed. But yeah, but it had been claimed by CD Baby. And CD Baby have my permission to collect my money. So it all seems to be working really well. And, if you're going to cover someone else's song, why should you get paid for it? The writer should get paid for it, right? So I'm okay with that. Next up, I took my Bose S1 Pro and I used my wireless systems that I had at the time. Well, I still have them actually. To make it a fully wireless speaker so you can go and play out anywhere. Sometimes I'll play a event where they say, look, no wires. It needs to look really clean. So you could do that as an option. And again, there's a lot of wireless stuff to have going. There's risks of dropouts, but it worked great for me every time. Next up, I love the idea of freezing something and jamming over the top. And a guy on the Helix group showed how to do it. So I made my own video on it. I did credit him in the video. But it's the EHX freeze effect. Now look, Line 6, I wish you would just build this into the Helix. This would be so useful. It's in the Kemper. You play a chord, hit a button, and it just holds the chord. Great pedal, the EHX freeze, and I wish this was in the Helix. It's amazing for live. It's amazing for practice. It just holds the chord and you can play over the top. It's so ambient. It's so cool. And yeah, that shows you how to do it yourself. But I would love it to be built into the Helix. Let's hope. Next up, SheetMinder. I met them. It's a way to store your sheet music, and it works really well. It's basically a folder, but it's just a nice implementation, and they're nice people, so I made a review for them. Next up, life as a cruise ship musician. So we went on a cruise, and the solo guy, Dave, is really cool. And I said, hey, Dave, can we do a video for my channel? So I just basically interview him about life on a cruise ship. And I love the backdrop of that video. I just filmed it with my iPhone, but I love the backdrop. So yeah, watch that one. Whenever I go on a cruise, I try and interview the musicians. I really think it's quite fascinating. Next up, Nuix sent me the Stageman Floor acoustic preamp. I don't have it anymore just because I don't need it. I have other preamps, but it's a great one and great for the price and form factor. So do check it out. It's very cool. Next up, tempo and timing. So I was just about to review some metronome type devices. So I wanted to talk about how important timing is. I still think it's important. I still don't practice it enough. Only 142 views. So obviously a lot of other people don't think it's important. Or maybe they're doing it already, hopefully so. But yeah, very important topic, tempo and timing. Next up, Carvin sent me the WG system, which is probably the best system of this style available. This one is around 130, 150, and there's cheaper versions as well, which I'll be reviewing on the channel soon. But yeah, they finally got it right with this system. And if they can get it right with this one, then I'm sure other people can too, because I've had some bad experiences with wireless. But that's highly recommended. Next up, the singer's diet, how I cleared my voice and lost weight. So I went to a voice doctor. I said, look, I'm struggling with falsetto. It keeps cutting out. So she said, okay, just do protein only for 2 weeks. Come back and see me. And I felt so much better. I lost like 10 pounds. My voice cleared up. It wasn't perfect, but it was better. And it wasn't for weight. It was to reduce the congestion and get it off the cords. You know, the overload of build up of can't remember what she said now. Was it yeast? Like you just have too many carbs and bread, and it kind of like creates stuff and it goes onto your cords. That's why I did it. But honestly, since then, my voice has gotten even better. And I think it's because I'm doing slightly less gigs now. I was gigging like every day, twice a day. I think it was exhaustion and also the diet. So they're both really important. You know, the voice is all about what you eat, what you put into the body, and obviously being fit and healthy and not overusing it. And when you use it, be very careful with it. But I thought I'd share that experience. And yeah, that's a great thing to do. I was kind of bad over the holidays, so I've gained a few pounds. I may have to go back to that pretty soon. Next up, the Martin D18 unboxing got 9,000 views. Yeah, people like unboxings, especially of things like Martin guitars. So I only had that guitar briefly. I sold it on. The D18 is mahogany. I love mahogany. It's light, has a great sound. That was a great guitar, but it just wasn't for me. I actually sold it and bought an HD28 instead, the one behind me. I really love the rosewood thing, the HD28 thing. It's slightly heavier. I got a light one, but it's slightly heavier. But I just love rosewood Martins. I think they're great, and I have that now. Next up, I happen to have the Helix and the HX Effects and the Stomp in my apartment, so I spoke about all three of them. Which one should you get? Currently, my main go-to is the full Helix, just because it has more buttons and more power, so why not? Next up, the Apple AirPods 2. I got some Apple headphones. I love them because as a musician, I didn't listen to music that often, but these are so convenient, the way they work with your phone. You just put them in and they kind of work. You know, there's nothing to set up, and if you're listening to a song, you take one out, it pauses. I know, I felt I was listening to more music, so I wanted to review them. Yeah, I really like those a lot. They've just made me listen to music more, which is a great thing. Next up, my band performing in Jersey. That was with the Helix going through a Seymour Duncan power stage and into a real cab. And I think it sounds great. I was really happy with that. And I'm happy with the performance too, so check that out. Live in New Jersey. Next up, went to Summer NAMM, made a summary. Again, not many views. I don't know why people don't like to watch about NAMM. I mean, I love it. I can't watch enough videos on NAMM. Watch out for my Winter NAMM video. Next up, my rep at Sweetwater told me about the Full Tone limited edition OCD, so I got one and demoed it. I really liked it, but I sold it just because I didn't need it. I have enough drive pedals in the Helix and Kemper to keep me going. Speaking of the Kemper stage was announced at Summer NAMM, and I got one, did an unboxing. I actually thought I got more views on it than that. It was kind of a hot topic, and I really like it. I use it all the time. I love practicing with it, and it just sounds great. I mean, I love the Helix too. The Kemper is just like plug and play, where the Helix takes a bit more tweaking, but they're both awesome. Next up, a cheap guitar. So I was sent this guitar you know, if it's a child, someone wants to really spend the bare amount possible on a guitar, it's passable. It needed a setup. If you set it up, it could be passable. But, you know, if you're really serious, if you really want to learn the guitar, save up a few $100s. Get a Yamaha. Get an Orange Wood. I haven't tried Orange Wood, but I hear they're good. Get a Yamaha. Get something that's good enough to make you want to pick up and play and feel good about playing it. Now the guitar I reviewed is fine. If you've only got $45, it's fine. But personally, I would spend a little bit more, get something a bit more better quality. But that's also me. I like quality stuff. Next up, yeah, talking of quality stuff, I got a new camera, which I'm using right here. I'm really happy with it. I love my camera. You can see it in the links below, which one I use. I absolutely love it. Took me a little bit of setting up, but I just love the quality. Next up, I reviewed the Peterson Strobo Stomp. I've used Peterson tuners pretty much my whole career. Having said that, yep, I do have it. The clip barn that I reviewed in the beginning of my channel. Still use it, still love it. I love the foot pedal one too. I would use it more if I had a pedal board. I would leave it on there all the time. I absolutely love it. Right now I use it for like setting up and really checking my tuning, but I also use the clip-on quite a lot too. Both amazing tuners and I love them. Highly recommended. Next up, I did a setup video on the Kemper Stage, just how I use it, how I found it was good to use it, and tips I found. That got 13k views. I think a lot of people were buying Kemper Stages and wanted to learn how to use them. Next up, I reviewed the Soundbrenner Pulse. So for timing, you clip it on, you feel it. I thought it was a really cool product, but yeah, I don't know. I guess there's certain gear people don't really search for, I guess. But then you never know, do you? And I think it's a valuable product, so I reviewed it. Next up, I compared the $44 guitar to the $1,600 guitar that I had at the time. Kind of a silly comparison. Of course, the more expensive one is going to be better. It's that whole thing of you play them both to someone that doesn't play, then, you know, well, they both sound like a guitar. Yeah, but the look and the feel is, you can't even compare them, you know. But yeah, it's good to remember sometimes that you don't need to spend thousands and thousands and thousands to get a guitar. They're all guitars. But it's just, the question is, how much do you want to spend and what name do you want on it? And what features do you want? What sound do you want? They all factor in. Next up, I watched Rocketman. I loved the movie. I decided to cover the song and talk about the movie, and I thought I might do that for some more movies too. Didn't get many views, but I know, I enjoyed doing that. I think those music documentary and the reenactments are really cool, and you learn a lot. They're also very inspiring. You know, you see what people went through, how they developed their craft, how they became famous. I think they're really cool. I enjoy them, so I'll do more of those in the future for sure. Next up, I used the Peterson to explain how I practice bending. It's a really accurate tuner, so it's great for practicing your bending with. After that, I did the stomp. I have a stomp, so I made a patch with the stomp. After that, I did another tips video because I was asked to make more, so I did that for the Kemper Stage. Then I did old strings versus new. I mean, I guess the new ones are bound to sound brighter, right? But I wanted to compare them on video. Then I did a video called Tips for Using the Kemper Profiler as a stage tool. Now, some people said, well, you know, of course we practice with it. Yeah, but it's just the feature set of that thing is so great for practicing. The tuner is responsive. It's very much like the Peterson. The looper is always there. The freeze effect is always there. It's like the ideal practice tool. I just practiced so much when I got mine. It's great. There's a few things they could put into the Helix to make it equally as good for practice. They're just not there. Like, they need to have the freeze effect. They need to have the always-on looper, the always-on tuner. They're not there. The Kemper has that. That's why it's great for practicing. Next up, I got my Sonic Blue Strat that I just adore, but I wanted to compare those pickups to the Elite that it was replacing. And I did find the regular pickups of that Sonic Blue Strat to be brighter than the Elite, and that was my biggest problem with the Elite series. They've now released the Ultra series, and I hear they're brighter, so it looks like they've fixed that. I'd like to try those out. But I love the Sonic Blue Strat. Oh, I just love that guitar. Haven't reviewed it. That's one thing I've realized as I'm talking through these videos. There's products that I use every day and professionally that I haven't reviewed. I think I've been reviewing like the newer stuff and stuff that I think people are interested in. I really need this year to actually review the stuff I use day to day and at gigs, like the QSC speakers, the Megami cables, the TC Helicon Play Acoustic. I really need to revisit those things and talk about them, and I will do. So make sure you're subscribed. And then I got the iPhone 11 Pro Max, so I made a video on that. And that has been great, actually. Like, when I'm at NAMM, it's great to have that camera with me. It really is. Then the Fender single coil versus Noiser. So I love that guitar so much, but it was noisy. It was almost unusable because the Custom Shop pickups, I think it's the Custom Shop 60... Is it the 62? I can't think right now. Or 68. 68 maybe? They're so noisy. So I got the Illich system, which is what Sir kind of use in their guitars. And I had it installed and I tweaked it, and I think it sounds great now. It just sounds like the Noiser's pickups, but with that brighter tone, which is what I want from a Strat. Very, very happy. Would like to try the Ultra line though, but very, very happy with that guitar. Just love it to bits. Next up, using expression pedals with the Kemper Stage. Had to do that. And then Ortega gave me a Horsekick Pro, and I've used it for months. I've used it so much I broke it. They sent me another one. Great to add some percussion to a solo guitarist act. I do think there's some things they could add to that pedal to make it even better, and I'll be talking to them about that. But it's a great, if you're a solo, one man or one woman band, then get one. Next up, made a new friend in NAMM, rather famous guitar builder, and he built his own pickup. And I heard the fingerstyle players using it at CAS, the Chet Atkins Appreciation Society, and I was so blown away by this pickup. I got this guitar and had him install it for me. I was like, wow, this is great. But then when I got back to New York, it cut out, and then I fixed it, and then when I strummed it hard with the pick, I realized that actually through my system, it just sounds like a very, very good pickup, undersaddle pickup. So I didn't really bond with it or the guitar, and I sold it on to a friend of mine from England when he was visiting me. Worth checking out, because like I said, some of the top players are using it, the Go Acoustic Audio, but it wasn't for me. Then using the Helix with a Mesa. So I went to a Mesa for a little while, but I love the clean sound, and the sound of that amp was so good. But it wasn't good for this apartment because at low volumes, it was noisy. There was a fan, there was hum, just noisy. It's really for stage. So I don't have that amp anymore, but great amp if you're looking for one. And you can control it with the Helix. I found a cable to do it. So I saw the Fender Smolder pedal at Summer NAMM, and Fender sent me one because they'd seen my Acoustasonic video. And that's a great pedal. I love they're making pedals for acoustic guitars. Fender, who are a very traditional company, are actually thinking outside the box quite a lot lately, and I really like it. I like that pedal, I still have it, and I use it for certain songs. It's very cool to have that effect, again, for solo guitarists. When you've got distortion and the kick drum, still very organic sounding sounds, but it just adds more flavor and interest to the set. And my friends at X-Vive sent me the Echoman analog delay. Great delay. Actually, I thought it'd be one of those pedals where I'm like, yeah, it's good. I'll review it and I'll get rid of it. But I loved it. I loved how it looked. I loved how it sounded. I don't have a pedal board, so I did sell it. I didn't need it. But if you're looking for an analog delay, I highly recommend that pedal. I loved it. Next up, I found a Zoom A14 so cheap on Amazon. I bought one. And I was really blown away. I was like, this is a great pedal, for the money. I mean, I'm not using it actively now. But if you're looking for your first acoustic guitar effects pedal, wow, if you can find that on sale or used, buy one immediately. And I found a cool tip that I put up there where I use my wireless systems to basically create a little mini wireless mixer, which I would use that live. That's a really cool feature. I wish more companies would put that in. Basically, you can run a loop and then you can change it while it's running. And with the wireless, you can walk around the venue and change it. Really cool. I mean, you could use an app for that, which would be even easier, but that Zoom A1, the Zoom stuff in general is very impressive, especially for the price. Okay, because I sold the Mesa Boogie, I got the Katana 100 Mark II, and I reviewed it. I love it. I love the amp. I still have it. I don't know if I'll keep it simply because I have the Helix, which I'm really enjoying, into a PA speaker. I have the Kemper that I enjoy into a PA speaker. And I have the Blue Amp 1 right now with a speaker cabinet. I don't need all these amps. I'm not really gigging right now on electric. Having said that, it's hard to let a Katana go because it's so light and so cheap and sounds so good. It's really the amp for beginners and professionals alike. It's incredible. But it's not really fitting to my workflow right now. So I might let it go, but I don't know. It's that good that I don't want to let it go. We'll see. I'll let you know next year. Okay, now with winter coming, I made a video on how to humidify guitars and instruments. Only 179 views, so I hope your guitars haven't cracked like mine did. Yeah, this is a big one. And I even just had to replace all the filters in my humidifiers because they were dried out and it wasn't reaching the full level of humidity. So do have a humidifier, do replace the filter, and do have a meter so you know if you need to be running it or not. Very important with any kind of instrument, any kind of wood. Yep. Then I did a Zoom A14 modeling demo to show the modeling feature in there. Pretty good, not bad, but not as good as my next video, the Tone Dexter. I love the Tone Dexter. I'm gigging with it now. It sounds amazing. It's interesting that that video got 338 views and the Zoom got 2,000. You see, people do like a deal. The Tone Dexter is more expensive. You have to train it with a microphone. It does one thing really well, a couple of things really well, but not much else. The Zoom is cheap, all-in-one, ready to go. Having said that, I would personally rather have the Tone Dexter do that one thing really well than have the Zoom do all those things, decently. But again, it depends where you're playing, how much you want to spend, and your mindset. But I'll be doing more on the Tone Dexter in the future for sure. Next up, I did another pickup demo, K&K. So that's so funny. I tried the K&K a few times. All I got was feedback. I told people never to install it. I hated it. And then I thought, you know what? Everyone loves it. I want to try it again. This is the power of Facebook. Whenever they talk on Facebook about pickups, they say, get a K&K. And it was kind of went into my brain. I was like, I need to try it. So I had it installed in my Martin. And yeah, with the Tone Dexter, it works great because Tone Dexter does a lot of EQ. But I figured out what it was doing, and even now plugged in direct with the right EQ, with the right notch, impedance, all this stuff, it sounds really great. It sounds as good as any pickup, direct. And then with the Tone Dexter, it just sounds really great. So I'll make some videos on how to EQ again with the K&K. I think that's important. Again, EQ, it's all about EQ, isn't it? Really is. Then I got the JBL Eon 1 Compact and unboxed that. That was a good time. It was a good week, that was. I did a lot of coverage on that product. And then I did an EQ. So that actually covers EQing the K&K in the JBL EQ and effects demo. So check that one out if you want to see a start to the EQ. Then I did the Eon 1 versus the S1 Pro. I still have both. The Eon 1 the features in that thing are incredible. I love that it's 8-inch. The S1 Pro is so compact and light. If JBL can just update the firmware on the Eon 1, fix the gain levels and things, make them more suitable, I think that could be amazing. It's not quite there yet, so I've kept both to see what happens, and I'll let you know. Next up, Carvin sent me this in-ear monitoring system, so I took the opportunity to try in-ear monitors for the first time, and I've become somewhat of a fan. I still love playing without them, but it's definitely something you get used to. Don't expect to put in-ear monitors in and just love it immediately. Again, you might want to EQ them differently to the main speakers. It might just take time to get used to that feeling of wearing them. So do give it a few weeks or months, and I think you'll like it. I think it's the way forward. They're light, and you can control exactly what you hear in the room. Next up, Elite sent me the Stomp Mix 4. Great mixer. Again, I wouldn't buy it over a full-size mixer because the price is the same. But if you want a small mini mixer for a solo act that you leave on your pedal board, well, there's nothing better. It's amazing. Okay, next up, they finally released the Kemper Profiler Editor. I haven't used it since. I don't really need it, but it's so nice to have it. It catches up with Line 6, and I'm now looking forward to the Kemper Cab, their cabinet. I'd love to try that. The Kemper Profiler Editor is still in beta, so don't go looking for it yet. But as soon as it's fully released, I'll make a video. The Boss Waza Air headphones. Yeah, amazing. I got them. I wasn't expecting to think much of it. I thought it'd be very gimmicky. And indeed, the gyroscope feature is kind of gimmicky and doesn't work for me. It gets confused when I move my head. But I've turned it off. I use them in surround mode, and it's the best headphone experience I've ever had. I bought them myself. I didn't return them. I love them. And I'll be doing more videos on those and how I use them in the future too. Especially how I use them with other products. Like I use them with the Helix, and that just sounds great. Next up, they released the bag. So I bought that, the stage bag. Made a video on that. It's a nice bag. Coming to the end here now. So I made an update on the Eon 1 Compact. Talk about the new firmware they released. And did a live clip for me playing live with it. Some people didn't like the live clip, but once again, I did not EQ it. if I'd EQ'd it, maybe they would have liked it more. So there's the whole EQ thing again. Axpax, friends of mine from NAMM sent me an Axpax review. I really like it. Amazing gift. If you're looking for a gift for a guitarist, get me an Axpax. Very cool. Next up, the NUX B5RC. I heard about this from other reviews and I asked them to send me one. I love the idea of this thing. I loved it so much, I just ordered it from Amazon. I'm like, I need that. Unfortunately, it wasn't as good as the other reviews said. And I wasn't going to review it for that reason. I don't often review products that don't work for me. But I put on Henning's video that, hey, it doesn't work with active pickups like they say it does. And he said, okay, make a review. So I did. I thought it'd be useful to the company and to customers. And I love everything else about it. So please, NUX, make a version 2 and I will review it gladly. Next up, follow-up review. So I'm trying to do more like unboxings, then a 2-week later review, then a 6-month later review, then a year's. I'm trying to like show how products are useful throughout their lifetime. So 2 weeks later with the Boss Waza Air, I talk about how much I like them and about the things still not working, but I love them anyway. Really cool products. Sold out everywhere right now. Okay, next up, recently did the X5 U4. They sent me one and it replaced the Carvin. So the Carvin was great. Actually, the Carvin is stereo, which some people point out to me is important. And the latency also on the X5 is 5 milliseconds, which isn't a problem for me, but apparently it is for some people. But I love the form factor of the X5. It's so small, I can just leave it in the guitar case. For that reason, I don't have the Carvin anymore because it's big to carry around when the X5 does everything I need it to. Although I now realize maybe I need a stereo version. So hopefully X5 will make a stereo version. And if not, I'll have to get another larger system again. But really, really loving the in-ear thing. It's good. It's really cool. And finally, for now, the last video of the year was the acoustic guitar pickups number 11, the Schertler Magnetico AG6. A pickup that I personally didn't think I'd like because it's a sound hole. It gets in the sound hole. It didn't seem to affect the sound of the guitar, but it's there physically. And I've never been a huge fan of magnetic pickups. But the funny thing is that watching this review back, I was like, wow, that sounds amazing. It sounds so natural. So I highly recommend if you're looking for sound hole pickup to check out that pickup. It's very excellent. It's excellent. It's great. And there's a different kind of attachment you can get, which I haven't tried yet too, a body sensor. Could be cool. Yeah, I really think that's one of the best sound hole pickups I've found, and it installs really easily. Check out that video. So that brings me to the end. It's been a great year. I'm really enjoying doing the YouTube thing. I hope you find my videos useful. For 2020, I want to do more gear reviews. I want to do more performances for sure. And I'm thinking about doing some lessons as well in gear and also guitar. So please subscribe. Have a great 2020 yourself. And I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye-bye.